Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to BossDawgs, the only show where we fully employ 3 golden retrievers. We tell them you're in charge of this supermarket and you can fire whoever you want. I'm Ross. This is WAFDog, and welcome.
Ross, always happy to have part 2 of the Monday doubleheader with you. And every week it feels like it's a new outlook on the BTC market, on the Ordinal market. It's just amazing how much we've been fluctuating over these past few weeks.
Dude, it really is crazy. Just so much top in the market, but a real pump this week and weekend out of Runes. Let's kick it off, dude. $1 billion cat. I talked about it last episode. Really excited about it. It is absolutely pumping these days. Did you get any $1 billion cat yourself, or is that one you were just watching along with all the other runes?
I actually minted $1 billion cat. I wish I added some more, but it's so funny. On my list of runes, literally the number one rune that I have on my list is $1 billion cat.
Dude, congrats on minting it. I looked at it and was like, cat memes never do that great. And this one just is built different, man. It really is.
You know, what I really like about it is the volume. I feel like the volume didn't just come in and then go away after like a day or two of being hot. It's been pretty sustained, and it's been sort of like a rising wedge up. I think it has the potential to be one of the ones that kind of sticks around.
I totally agree. I put out on my Twitter a little video when I first dug into it, because I kind of just saw it on Luminex and just let it lie there. Didn't really do anything, but circled back, and it's got this meme ability that we've talked about before, right? So many of the best meme coins on the market, it really just boils down to who is the community, how are they able to outsource and reach new people who aren't in the market yet. And $1 billion cat cracked the code. They got this little Bitcoin mask that they put on, and they have a meme generator on their website, so anyone can just upload an image, it slaps a mask on its face, and boom. It's literally the exact same thing that happened with Mog. But even with Mog, I know there's a lot of people putting a lot of effort into those memes. With this, it couldn't be easier. It's just you Photoshop a little mask on it, and that's it. I'm usually not a big fan of coins or communities who are just going out and shilling posts, but it seems like it's working for them. They're just posting on every single crypto Twitter, especially in Ordinals and Runes. Like, you're going to see the $1 million cat account commenting on there. They got their holder numbers up, and now it just seems like they're, taking over. They're flipping everything.
Yeah, I mean, right now they are the 17th highest in market cap at 17 million, and they are number 3 in terms of daily volume behind Dog Go to the Moon and Birds Aren't Real. Did you get into Birds Aren't Real?
Yeah, I totally would have. That's a pretty long existing meme just in Web 2 space, so I had no idea that was coming out. I was a little bit busy this weekend, but that's a good one. I like the meme there. How's that doing market cap-wise?
Pretty low still. The market cap is at 467,000, but its 24-hour daily volume is at 400,000.
Oh, wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, I will say with a lot of these memes, I definitely look for the runes that pay for the actual inscription image. So I noticed Leroy Jenkins, I bought some with you when you were sweeping, and I think it faded away a little bit. I like that it was ticker 777, but looking back on it, I was like, damn, they don't have the little icon on their profile. And for whatever it's worth, it's not the end all be all, but I really do think it makes a bit of a difference, especially if you're a later rune to the scene. Definitely just shows that they're well versed in runes and they're willing to, put up a little bit of capital to go the distance. So it'll be interesting because runes are definitely hot right now. It seems like people are paying attention to mints. But I think you want to look for some of those differentiating factors, especially like with $1 billion cat, them being able to continue to push out memes on a daily basis and grow their community. I think you want to look for stuff like that as we see these new runes come onto this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I turned Leroy from a victory into a loss. I think I just got a little too aggressive with it. But you got to have your social media game like on point. And if you don't have that X, exposure or that timeline and the memes and stuff, like, it's just not going to work. It's going to be, hot for a minute and you're going to go away. I think With Billion Dollar Cat, it's a different story with like their meme maker, and like they're really active on X. So I feel like that's now a criteria for me whenever I'm looking to mint a rune. I have to check socials on it first.
It's a great box to check. I mean, thinking of runes in the same bucket that we thought of Solana shitcoins, it's the same game, right? The ones that did the best were the ones that had that virality and that social presence. So I definitely think as runes continue to grow and there's just more and more that come out the pipeline, we're definitely going to see that. It looks like runes kind of hit a peak velocity when Dog came pretty close to hitting that $1 billion market cap. I think it got up to like 930 million. Things pulled back a little bit just with crypto having a few liquidations over the weekend. Things cooled off a little, but I'm still pretty optimistic on runes, honestly. It's really where I've been fixating and focusing a lot of my attention. You just look at some of the ordinal prices right now. I still think there's a really good opportunity for ordinals in terms of, maybe a 2x opportunity or 50% gain, just depending on what your timeline and horizon is. I mean, potentially way more, right? Like, I still think there's a world where puppets go to 1 Bitcoin, node monkeys go to 1.5 or something on a larger time frame. But in terms of just short-term growth, I really think runes are just poised super well to hit 5 to 10x's to maybe 50x's if you get in off mint. So I've really just been spending more and more time on runes and less time on ordinals, at least over the past weeks since we last.
Yeah, I can't blame you for that. I feel like right now the opportunity is in runes. I mean, we had a couple of things come up this weekend, I want to say, that slowed down the speed of runes. I mean, we kind of had a climactic moment, I want to say, in the meme world with Roaring Kitty's his live stream on Friday, right? And then I think kind of going into the weekend, sats just were out of control, as I believe it was like OKX were splitting their UTXOs, and sats were like hovering around 500 and 600 for like most of Saturday. So I think we just kind of lost some momentum, and then just a pullback in general like makes a lot of sense after like that rip over the last week. I want to say we didn't get quite to $1 billion with Dog Go to the Moon, but it's gonna make another run at it. And I think when it runs, the rest of the runes will run. We're still waiting on Bitcoin. We were so close. We got to like 71, and then we got kind of pushed back down, and now we're just hovering around 70, right below it. I think there's just like a lot of market antics going on to kind of suppressing the price a little bit, but like a beach ball underwater, like I think at any moment it's due to explode.
I love it, Wes. Great commentary there. And yeah, I mean, across the board, there's a ton of activity, right? We obviously had the Roaring Kitty stuff, but today also NVIDIA had a 10-to-1 split, which is pretty huge given that NVIDIA is like the biggest company in the world now. It was green on the day, so that's pretty bullish for markets overall. And I think that's kind of where we're at. There's just chop across the board. I tuned into Wake and Jake this Monday morning, and just a good breakdown as per usual on what the price of Bitcoin is going to be and just kind of leading the way there. So I think Jake's level for it is 72 or 74K. But definitely hoping to close the week above 72K to kind of reclaim those highs. So we're still waiting on that, still chopping around. But in the time being, I think we're just back into flip territory. I like to talk in the episodes just about how our audience members can make money. And me, I love to buy the dip. There was just so many good opportunities on $1 Billion Cat this weekend. A few times it touched 20 million, fell down maybe 10 or 20%. So I was definitely rinsing and repeating around that. I think at one point I caught like a $14 million market cap dip, rode it back up. So, nice like 30% gain. Still holding a pretty good chunk of my initial, but there's opportunities. I think with this kind of chop, you really just don't know when it's going to be a full next leg versus what is it's just going to be a little pop and then go back to the range. But if you're willing to play the ranges and be okay with selling some of your bag on the way up, there's really a lot of good opportunities. Same with puppets. I know they went briefly to 0.22. They fell back in that 0.14 range. And then last night they were right back up to like 0.17. So, I mean, if you're willing to put some capital out there, you're willing to take some calculated risk rewards, there's still a ton of plays in the market.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, it's kind of ironic where we're in this bull market, but it feels like a bear market where I feel people just selling the rallies and they're just selling off like the highs. And but there's like so much percentage gains to be made. Like I was looking at even the higher market cap runes like Doggo to the Moon. I mean, you got like 40% retracement on that. Same thing with Arsic. I mean, like it was up to like 18 sats last week. Now it's like 13. So like you could even make the plays on like the safer runes, I want to say, and just capture the gains, and sell the tops and buy the bottoms and rinse and repeat and make 30-40% just like that, with like reducing your risk a little bit. So I like those plays a lot. Just doing trades. I think this is a trader's market right now. Not sure if conviction is really holding right now. People are just selling rallies.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Waf. I mean, we've talked about it before. You just see a lot of people are moving the needle on their price barely, right? Like you see a puppet, you can see the price history. Someone bought it at 0.15. They're listing it for 0.155. So it's certainly in that profit takers mode. I don't think we're seeing a ton of big sweeps coming in or swing traders. I'm sure they're there in the mix, but a majority of that action is just kind of the skims on the top. But it's still pretty viable. I mean, I would definitely recommend to the audience just try to focus on things that are performing well or have a history of performing well. At any point, obviously, the market could enter a downturn or a consolidation phase. So I'd probably try to target stuff you feel good about. But once you have that conviction, it's really easy to trade those dips. I mean, something like Arsic, I just don't see a world where that ever goes below, $150 million market cap, unless runes were really just going to be bleeding across the board. But even in an event like that, I'd feel comfortable buying Arsic and holding for the next resurgence of runes. So, I mean, again, I've just been glued on runes lately, so I'm probably going to be talking about it more this episode than Ordinals, but we'll certainly talk about Ordinals as well. But just thinking about runes, it's like, this is the feeling that Ordinals folks had a year ago when they were minting them. And think about how long it took from mint out of puppets and node monkeys to have those huge pumps that they had a couple months ago. So here we are now with runes. They absolutely flopped. People faded them the first couple of weeks, first couple of months. We're starting to see some volume trickle in, but for all intents and purposes, man, like Go to the Moon at $1 billion is nothing if you keep in mind the market cap of Bitcoin as a whole. So I'm still viewing runes as an offering of Bitcoin as just the home run opportunity here. I'm willing to give it time. If it enters a bear market and we have to wait another year or another 5 months, that's fine. But I mean, the big conviction names on runes for me are just where I'm super confident buying these dips, knowing that if I become a holder, I'm fine.
Imagine like me and you, we do this show every week, and then the time comes and we're not in it. Like that to me is like the bigger risk of not being in than to when it finally goes off, than to like lose money by holding, I think. So I think like it's a confusing market, and I think it's made to confuse you. And we always talk about like the market just will try and shake you out and wear you out, and get you frustrated and like basically make you give up your position. But like all you got to do really is hodl and you'll be fine.
Exactly. It's like your ex-wife, not yours, Waf, just anyone's in general. Apologies if that struck a nerve with anyone in the audience, but couldn't resist the joke.
That was a good one. I mean, ultimately too, like just going back to Bitcoin real quick. I mean, this is the longest consolidation period post halving in like Bitcoin's history. So like to me, like that's real. That means Bitcoin price is really, really coiled up. And like when that spring like pops, I mean, I firmly believe like the correlation between the runes prices and ordinals, especially with Bitcoin going up, are like almost like correlated 100% basically. So once Bitcoin like takes out the all-time high, I could see these ordinals really running. I just think it's a matter of time. It's also like low liquidity, so it won't even take much to move these floor prices significantly. And like at the end of the day, you just don't want to miss it. You got to pay attention to it.
Oh yeah, I completely agree, Waf. I mean, something that's crazy to me is like, I've been talking about $1 billion catalog. It only has 2,000 holders, and that was as of I think yesterday. And before that, it had maybe 1,400 holders. But if you look at some of the top collections, stuff like Arsic and Doggo to the Moon, where there was a lot of people holding their airdrop, pretty good distribution there. But beyond that, the top rune collections have maybe 3,000 to 4,000 holders. And same with ordinals, right? Like they're obviously only 10K collections for the most part, but it is realistically only a few thousand people in these ecosystems right now. So if you just wait and zoom out and say, okay, where is the world 5 years from now? What happens if Bitcoin goes to 100K, 200K a token? people who are just so priced out on Bitcoin are going to be looking to exposure to Bitcoin in other ways and methods. And runes are there for that. I mean, it's beautiful, right? If you look at Solana, there's all these shitcoins, but it's not as if it's actually on the Solana chain. It is on the Solana chain, but it's not hard coded. It's not a piece of Solana. It's not, you know, all the data on chain for it. It's just the transactions on top of it. So for Bitcoin, it's all on chain. It's runes that are represented in sats, a part of Bitcoin. So you're getting amazing exposure to Bitcoin. You also have the narrative of all of these memes that have been popping off for the past couple of years. So, I mean, in my mind, this is just the culmination of a lot of factors that makes it a super enticing play. The only caveat is there aren't a lot of players right now. We still know that there's barriers to entry. There's a ton of friction. It's just like, you got to wait till people wake up to this and hear about runes. You go out to 100 people on the street. Have you heard about Bitcoin runes? 99 of them are saying, get the hell away from me. I don't know what you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, people haven't heard of runes. They haven't heard of ordinals. They haven't heard of BRC20s. But speaking of BRC20s, did you get a pizza drop?
Dude, I am just NGMI this weekend. I was so out. And then, I mean, apparently it was a while ago, but I had no idea about this pizza claim. I have all of my alt wallets with some amount of wizard in them. Didn't claim it.
Oh, it's pretty good stimmy. I think right now it's trading at about $6 or so, and most people got airdropped. I want to say at least 100, if not a little bit more than that.
Can you guys talk about how to like check or do that? Because I feel like I opted into something or claimed something, and then I go to unisat.io/pizza, and it's like just the general homepage. So I'm confused.
I mean, it was a page to claim, and if you claimed it, it should be in your wallet. So you should be able to go to Unisat and then go to like the BRC 5-letter ticker tab. And then when you go to like my assets, it should be there if you made that original claim back when you were supposed to.
Jacob, if you open up your wallet, if you go to Ordinals tab, and then there's 3 options, all BRC20 and then BRC20 5-bit, it should be under the 5-bit.
My Bitcoin assets, BRC20.
Okay, that's if you're using Unisat. If you have a Unisat wallet, yeah, it'll be like that.
Amazing. And then you just trade it. How do you trade it?
All right, so then you got to create a transfer inscription, right? So if you go to like that ticker symbol on Unisat and you go to like list your asset, it'll like give you sort of like the shortcut and prompt you to do the transfer inscription for the amount you want to do it. And so you just enter the amount, and then you got to wait for that transaction to confirm. And then after it confirms, then you can list it for sale.
All right. Amazing. Thank you guys. That's super helpful. Because yeah, I had no idea how to check if I even had it.
Oh, congrats on the $600, Jacob. Let's go. Drinks on you tonight.
Let's go. Hopefully you got it in one wallet.
Yeah. Let me check. Someone was saying you could check like your other, so like you have their Taproot wallet and then you have like your other wallets that you can check too, or like the other types.
Yeah, I think apparently also like your native SegWit was eligible for it, which I forgot to claim on that one. But if you didn't make the claim, it's too late. But if you did it, you should have it in there.
Thank you.
So Ross, I do want to talk about one other thing that we had. We had the reveal. We had the Royals reveal. I don't know if you been paying attention to it.
I have, dude. That was my next question. You literally read my mind, but tell me about it. I was just watching from the sidelines, did not hold any Royals at this point. I sold them the pre-reveal pump. Not one for the odds, especially when I wasn't holding any rares. But yeah, wow, I know you crushed it during the mint. How'd it go?
I want to say I turned a big win to a smaller win because the floor price just like dropped like really bad. I do have a lot of good rarer ones though, so like I just have to kind of list them. But I just want to talk about DMT overall as a second. It just feels like right now, I don't know, like when NFTs were like no longer sort of like the thing, and it was almost like a dirty word. I feel like DMT is now like a dirty word. I feel like if you drop an Ordinals collection and it's going to be DMT, like don't even tell people it's DMT. That's how I feel about DMT right now.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there, Waf. I mean, it's like think about runes, think about ordinals, then take 1/10 of the people doing that, and that's your DMT community, right? DMT is your cousin who does real DMT and lives in his basement. I think that's kind of how people are viewing it. I think it's a really interesting concept. I think the block runners nailed it with making that and launching it. I don't know. I guess the market's not ready for it yet. I think it's one of those things that when the time comes, it'll take off really quickly. We still know that there's a larger distribution issue. I was kind of excited when Royals were holding close to that 0.01 floor, was really hoping they would take off just because they were going to definitely bring Nat Cats with it. But we're still waiting for the resurgence. I think that's how it is with a lot of things in the space, right? We also can look at stuff like bitmaps. There's just so many of them. I really was thinking, okay, these bitmap plays have always done well, be it on Sol or Ethereum. They're down so bad right now. So I think we really need to see the mainstream adoption of ordinals and the rest of the PFPs that usually lead these kinds of runs, and then we'll start getting into some of that funky stuff. But I really do think it is just a smaller subsect of a larger market, so it's harder for it to find its footing, especially during this.
Oh, completely agree. Like Ordinal's space is small enough. You don't need to be a subset of already a smaller space. And then you could probably just increase adoption like better, like Trojan horse style. Like people don't need to know like every little technical detail of how something was done. Like just do it and then like let them know like, oh yeah, by the way, Bitcoin made that,
You completely agree. But I've said it 50 times on the show. I'll say it at 51st. Got the Blast TGE at the end of this month, Bluff. I think that is going to be the game changer that could lift all the ships in our crypto market, especially in ordinals. I mean, we'll have to see. It definitely depends how season 1 goes. See if Pack Daddy himself has a little staking mechanism into a season 2 for Blast. But assuming that people are going to be caking big on that, having just a huge stack of liquidity and then seeing some of their favorite ordinal collections down, I really would be surprised if we don't see some of that liquidity just bleeding across the market and going into runes and ordinals. It just seems like that's where a lot of liquidity, if I had it, would be going right.
That's interesting. Also, ZK Sync finally came out and said like they're gonna come out with their airdrop next week, so that could be another liquidity event. And people have been speculating that could open up at like $15-20 billion market cap.
Holy crap. Yeah, I mean, if you get multiple just huge airdrops entering the system at once, I think people are going to be looking to buy stuff. They usually do. They're looking for those opportunities. I think it really just depends if there's going to be another airdrop, right? So I think that's the biggest thing to look out for is how did it perform? Is there a mechanism for Blast Season 2? Because we saw that same mechanic happen after Blur Season 1. Huge airdrop, very successful. Season 2, people went ham, wasn't as successful. But then Pack introduced Blast and people just staked for what was called Redacted at the time, kept it in there for a long time. So with Blast, if it's going to be staking a ton of this liquidity into another lock for, let's say, months on end, that might not be so good for the trickle-down theory. But if it's just, hey, here's your airdrop, people are happy, people are excited, I feel like we're kind of past the stage of people airdrop farming a ton of stuff all at once. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on that's coming out this week. I know we have Booty is the notable one for Pirate Nation, so super excited for that. But just all of these airdrops happening at once, it seems like we might have just a breath of a window where people aren't doing these farming activities. In my mind, they might be saying, hey, where are the opportunities? I'm seeing runes, I'm seeing ordinals. Could be a good op. So that's still where my head.
I agree with you there. And also, I did see this poll on X, and it said, and I'm going to pose it to you. What do you think is the crossover between Bitcoin / Ordinal / Rune, I want to say holders, investors, versus people on ETH and like ETH layer 2s? And I think the number will kind of shock you. But what percentage of people you think cross over into both?
I'm going to say based on an X poll, it's probably like 15 to 20%. But I just think it's like bullshit, honestly. I mean, you look at people in X or on X, if there's a good way to make money, people will jump through the hoop to do it. I mean, Blast showed us that, right? Like, there's so many different apps that are not related at all. There's apps that are playing video games. There's apps that are gambling. There's apps that are sport-centric. People will play the app. if there's a chance to earn Blast Gold. So I'm still, waiting for the reveal. We'll see what the actual number on crossover is. But just knowing that communities like MVHQ exist, where we can exchange information with one another. If you came to me, WAF, and you said, hey, there's this brand new chain, I'm making money on it, I'm there. And I'm guessing a lot of people in crypto Twitter are the same way in 2024, where it's, hey, maybe you're spending most of your time on Solana, but when I show you this profit I made on this Rune, you're there. So what figure is it?
You were pretty close. It's 30% actually, so higher than what you thought. So if it's even higher than that, then maybe we really take off. I would say you have to exclude like MVHQ because we're like expert, like advanced users. I don't think we can compare. And there's other communities out there like us, but for the most part, people are not like doing the things that MVHQ are doing. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. They're definitely not. But I think it's just an information digestion cycle. It's still like we've seen influencers and they really pushed runes, especially during like the initial phase when everyone was setting up their nodes, because there's just a potential for profit. So I really just think it boils down to, are people making money? As soon as someone's able to make money on runes, that's where you're going to start seeing influencers making content in order to get viewers, right? That's kind of the economy we live in with crypto. Trickles to the influencers, they make guides, that disseminates to other people, and then the streets get saturated and we do it all over again. I think the Solana airdrop meta was like the perfect example. There was this video going around of like the staking loop on Solana. I'm going to stake it on Camino and then lend it out on finance or whatever it was called, and they just did this whole loop, right? And that video on Twitter got like 1.5 million views, to the point where every person that you would see on the timeline migrated over to Solana. So why not Bitcoin? I think it's just a matter of when the stars align and the market heats up, people are going to be jumping in if there's profit to be had.
Yeah, and if you remember, like when Ordinals were red hot, I mean, airdrop meta was huge on Ordinals, right? So like it goes back to, what if you own these key Ordinals, you're going to wind up getting these even more valuable Ordinal airdrops, or be whitelisted for valuable airdrops moving forward. So like there's always value that's like unlocked and that's in the future that you haven't realized yet with you hold, but like that's always out there too.
100%. And I think one of the big barriers to entry for ordinals or runes is it's just a lot more expensive to be a developer, to inscribe an individual component of a project. So for people not familiar, if you wanted to inscribe a collection on Bitcoin, you need to inscribe every single trait. So it can cost a lot of money if you're inscribing hundreds of traits in a collection, versus it's still going to cost some money if you're on ETH or Solana, but it's going to be a fraction of the cost, especially contingent on gas fees. So with that, I do think we'll hopefully see higher quality projects down the pipeline. There are, of course, silly projects on runes, as well as ordinals that don't do great. But I still think that you see a lot less saturation of the market or oversaturation of the market, which is something that we've seen a lot of on Ethereum and Solana.
Yeah, I think on average, it probably costs you about like half a Bitcoin to 1 Bitcoin to inscribe a collection. And like you said, you're inscribing the traits. And these are all like recursive inscriptions. So you're not making like, 10,000 inscriptions, but you're doing like all the traits. And then when the person mints, it basically pulls from those inscriptions to create like your actual ordinal, which is a great, that was a great development. I want to say, I don't know who came up with recursive inscriptions, but like now everything is a recursive inscription. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think we'd have these 10K collections at these prices, without recursive inscriptions.
Oh yeah, 100%. Also, just saw Silva's comment in the voice hangout chat. He's saying Pirate, YOLO, and potentially ZK airdrops for all this week. So that's huge. And then Blast on the 26th and Layer 0 confirmed before end of month as well. So, I mean, there's going to be people who are making millions. There's going to be people who are making, everything below that. But yeah, you got a huge price action curve there. I know Blast, YOLO, and Pirate. I mean, these are all huge airdrops. I'm looking at this whole list. It's like, I can't imagine these being small $300 to $400 airdrops. I think people are going to feast on these. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think I'll do well on 2 of those, so I'm happy about that. You can't farm them all, so I'll take 2 of them though.
Absolutely, dude, 100%. But with that, let's use that as a segue. So you got your airdrop, WAF. If you have some airdrop money right now, are you looking at ordinals or runes? What collections at these price points are catching your eye?
Oh man, that's a tough one, man. I think I would just go back to what I've always been saying. I would be looking at node monkeys. I'd be looking at quantum cats, and you know, and I've said a couple. I want to say not so negative things, but just I think this particular collection doesn't move so much. But I'd be looking at OMB as well.
Dude, yeah, I really like the OMB call out there. I mean, I think when ordinals finally get their resurgence, OMBs are just going to dominate. I'm definitely looking for a quantum cat if I can get it below 0.2. That's just like my gold entry. Don't know if I'll ever be able to get it. One thing that kind of crossed my mind is I saw Udi, who's sort of the guy behind Taproot Wizards, is he was talking a lot about how Arthur Hayes, who's this guy who's a huge Bitcoin maxi, but he was slow to come around to the idea of Bitcoin. He was saying that he fears Bitcoin is sort of outdated in its technology. And Udi was talking a lot how this Arthur Hayes guy is late to turn around, right? And he was saying that this OpCat, which is an old function of Bitcoin that I think got phased out, will be coming back at some point soon. And that's going to really show him the technology involved with it. This is all just a roundabout way of me saying once OpCat, the protocol, gets back into Bitcoin, that is where I'm going to be really trying to strike on quantum cats. I still haven't snagged one yet because we've seen a bit of fluctuation in it. They're usually pretty illiquid. The floor holds pretty well, but there's just not a ton of volume on the collection day to day. So if we can get a little pullback there, if I can get sub 0.2, awesome. But if OpCat is like confirmed back and they're ready, to me, that's the shoe to drop before Taproot Wizards come out. And at that point, you know, that floor is going to go crazy. So definitely want to make sure I can get a quantum cat before Taproot Wizards. So that's just to call the audience. If you hear a lot of rumors about OpCat coming back, I would look into getting a quantum cat. Not financial.
That's great, Alpha, because you know what? I think Taproot Wizards cannot probably come into effect until OpCat is fully deployed. So that could be the signal, right? If that's definitely the leading indicator for quantum cats. On OMBs, I did hear like they're going to get an allocation of the epic rune. So like that could be another reason you might see OMB pump once that becomes, I guess, more official and more widely known.
That's a great play there as well, Wap. I thought for sure it was going to be blobs because they inscribed the fourth happening sat. So it was like the fourth epic. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't the fourth epic, but they got the fourth halving. So I was really surprised it wasn't going to be them. But that's pretty huge for sure. I mean, that's like the fifth highest market cap collection now. Definitely top 10, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely up there. I do think the Blob. I think they're still getting an epic also allocation as well, but I think OMB is getting a larger one. There was another Magic Eden deployment of a rune this past week. I don't know if you got involved in it, but that thing went all south. It was like the wizard one. Were you familiar with that one at all?
No. Like I said, I haven't been as glued in, mainly just like checking the price charts, doing a little bit of swing trading, just buying some stuff, but have not really been keeping up with any launches.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. It got botted to death, and they postponed it. I mean, it was pretty much you had to create a Magic Eden wallet by a certain date and fund it, and then you were eligible to be able to, I guess, to mint the rune. But the website was crashing and lagging, and so now they delayed the mint. But it was I believe it was like the 16th rune, and that was deployed by the wizard, the one that came out with the rune blaster.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, wow. So a little bit of a delay there, but yeah, I mean, honestly, it's sort of bullish that all these things are getting botted. It just shows the demand. I will say, on the opposite end of bullish, dude, it's annoying using Magic Eden sometimes these days. I think over the past couple of weeks have tried to make like 5 or 6 transactions that all just get sniped in the mempool, and it's annoying. It's like it'll be the puppet on the floor, and then I'm like, all right, this one's a clean one, let me pick it up. And as soon as I buy it, someone else is like, oh, someone bought it, I'm going to buy it. So I think I failed transactions on like 4 puppets over the past week, just trying to snipe a cool one at the floor. And they'll be sitting there for 10 minutes, but as soon as I try to purchase it, it just doesn't go through. So kind of annoying that that's still going on. I don't really foresee it ever stopping, but it'll be cool if Magic Eden at some implement better measures to lock those in and not have mempool sniping, I think that'd be a pretty good advancement for.
Dude, it's been so annoying, especially you swept something and you think you got it, you walk away, right? You don't think about it, and then the next day or a few hours later, you go to check and it's like, I didn't get any of these things. I mean, I think it's bullshit. I do know like there are those like mempool sniping tools that are out there, with gold mine tools being one, but you got to pay for that one, and you can use. Again, I think the creator of Rune Blaster has his own, and then you can use Magic Sats. Magic Sats, I think, has one too. So there's 3 tools out there to snipe the mempool. I think you could like snipe your own transactions if you need to, or you know what, you could be the douchebag and snipe people's buys too if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free market, like people can do that for sure. It's sniping's always been a part of NFTs. It's always been a part of the game, but it's definitely annoying when you're doing stuff, especially with like buying runes. I know a few times I was trying to buy $1 billion cat on the dip. And to your point, it's just like, fuck yeah, I nailed the dip. You walk away, you're like, let's go. I just made, however much Bitcoin. And it's like, oh, you didn't actually make that. So it's just sort of infuriating when you time it perfectly, you're ready to go, you got the cash, and it's just so misleading because it pops up in your wallet, right? You'll see it in your Unisat wallet. The funds are gone. You're like, let's do it. I got it. And then it's just gone a few minutes later. So a little bit frustrating, but we're still going through the growing pains of new ordinals and rune markets.
On the flip side of that, like I never see the point of like sniping a rune. Like I would never do that. So I've gotten rune sniped and on like something that was looking hot, and then eventually it like collapsed. I was like, you know what? If you snipe it, then it's all yours. And then sure enough, I got sniped and the price tanked. So I was like, all right, thanks for saving me from buying that.
Indeed, it happened to me on the run up of Frux. I was like ready to buy them at 0.08 or 0.008. 0.08 would be hype. But 0.008, and then the floor tanked and someone sniped it. So I was like, all right, thank you for that. It does work in your favor every now and then. And a perfect segue to talk about Frux. They were the darling collection for all of 3 days. I still think they're awesome. I love the name. I love the Frux. I think the rune has not yet dropped unless I was missing it this weekend. But yeah, the price action on those was interesting. Wow, it went to above 0.02 at one point, and now I think they went down to like 0.009 at one point, and now they're chilling in that 0.01 range. So what do you think about Frux, right? They really had a meteoric rise and very quickly cooled off.
I'd say I'm like bearish to ultra bearish on Frux, and nothing about the collection really. Just the price action is dictating that for me. Like you said, it went up really fast. Like meteoric rise is like, putting it mildly. And even at 0.012 right now, like that's still like a pretty decently high floor for what it was minted out for 2 weeks ago. So I think this thing has a lot more room to the downside. Like I personally, I'm not touching it right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Waf. I mean, it is interesting because it does fall in my category of swing trade. There was a good opportunity when it went to 0.009. I was talking to Mike Ollie in voice chat, and we were both saying, hey, Frux below 0.01, that could be a good buy. And I think that one, if you bottom ticked it when it broke 0.01, you could have made like 0.005 per Frux, which doesn't sound anything great, but given that at the time it was only 0.01 to buy, you're making a really good return for your investment. You're making 50% per Frux if you, again, bottom ticked it and then top ticked it. But it's interesting because I also felt similarly to you, Waf, that I'm not super bullish on them anymore. At first, they just had so much volume. There were so many pendings. I was like, this is perfect. It's a great storm. But I'm trying to pinpoint in my mind, like, where did Frux miss the mark? And again, not funning it for people who have Frux out there. I don't think they fully missed the mark. They'll definitely come back if Ordinals as a whole get more volume. But I'm just wondering why it was like fire in a pan for a couple days, and then what happened for it to just fizzle out so quick.
I think people, again, they're just like treating Ordinals like it's a bear market, and they're just selling off the rallies. And it had nothing to do with Frux, really. It was just a money-making opportunity, and people took advantage of it. I don't know if you remember the days of NFT nerds. I used to love the charts on NFT nerds. I felt like it showed like the tops and bottoms of collections so clearly. And like I guess Flux had that initial first peak, and then it kind of dipped, and then it had that second run up that peak. So maybe there's like one more peak, and then this thing will just trickle down. But I think it could potentially have like one more, like I guess one more little hill, and then the thing is all downhill after that.
Yeah, well said, Waf. But I think it just goes to show that the communities that have been holding well during this, it's weird, bullish, bearish time frame. I'm totally with you. It's like we're for sure still bullish, right? Because we know what a bear looks like, and it's not this. And a bear, the floor is getting eviscerated. There's just no volume. So I think we're in like an intermediary phase where crypto is a little bit more mainstream. There's definitely some solidity there. So pun intended. But yeah, you definitely have some stable floors on these collections. I do think the floors, as we saw a month ago or a few weeks ago with stuff like puppets and node monkeys, they could go lower, but at the very least, they're holding some kind of floor there. It's not like they're just dropping back to their pre or very soon after mint out levels. So it'll be interesting to see how those collections perform once we get that wave back into ordinals. We do know with crypto, as well as any other market, it's all cyclical. So I'm just excited to see some volume coming back. I really thought this might have been it for runes. I was careful there, didn't want to add too much. I think I added maybe a few new runes that I haven't added before, but other than that, I still just get a little bit of caution when stuff starts ripping face. So this past week when runes got all the volume and ordinals did too, I was really tempted to buy some stuff, but kind of just like dip my toe in the water because I figured, this could be another just local top, not the big.
Yeah, I mean, I think minting is like the low risk play, right? You can't really get too wrecked just by minting. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Pups World Peace. I believe they extended the deadline for when you're supposed to burn your Rune puppet, and it's probably ending sometime today. As of right now, 82% of the Rune pups have been migrated, so there's like 18% out there. So just something to think about if you're looking into Rune, the Pups World Peace token. Potentially about 5% of the supply could get burned.
Dude, that's great. I mean, honestly, at 18% missing with a day left, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 10%, but that's a really nice bonus. Even 5% is really nice, but like 18% is sizable. So that's really great for holding.
Well, it's 18% for the Rune Pups migration, but they're not the only ones that are getting the allocation, because I think the BRC20s have an indefinite time to convert, and then you have the pups that are bridged over to Solana that hasn't that has no deadline either. So those are excluded. So the 18% of Rune pups, I think, is equivalent to about 5% of the remaining supply.
Oh, dang. All right. Wow. I'm always thankful to have you here as the co-host, dude, to keep it honest here and get the nuance. But yeah, so 5%, not as exciting as the whole. I didn't realize that the pups on Solana and BRC20 were all going to go into the same Pups World Peace. So that's pretty interesting there. But I mean, I know there was some really notable influencers who were pumping pups a while ago. And I mean, pups was crazy, right? It was like the first BRC to just catch fire. At one point, was it like $70 a pup token? Something crazy like that.
And I think it hit like $100 at one point too. I did see Swag Toshi like bought a puppet today, and he's been like on some puppet kicks. So maybe some social influencers are coming back and like going to start pumping some stuff. I mean, maybe we don't need Ansem. We need some BTC native guys to pump it.
I think I unfollowed Ansem last week. Not even gonna lie. I mean, he's a G. I think it's a hard role to be a Twitter influencer, which is like funny to say that's like a hard role to fill, because they definitely do get just so much free money sent to them with people being like, "Hey, we'll give you this token, or we'll give you this Rune or NFT or whatever it is." But it's tough. Like once you get to that high a caliber, people are looking at you to consistently print profit for them. So I do feel for him in that extent, but it is funny, I mean, he definitely pumped all these bags and stuff, but I feel like lately he's just been on some random shit and just complaining a lot and helping celebrities come in and shill their projects. So that was it for me. I'm waiting for a new influencer to come in, Gary V style, and just be like, "Oh, we're early on runes," and yeah, maybe that's us. Maybe we have that right here in MVHQ. But I definitely am waiting for some tides to turn and people to really start hyping up runes.
I mean, speaking of one of us, like T.O., right? He's coming out with his pizza token pretty soon. I think that's going to drop at some point. And he's got also, I think, like that the egg drop that he's dropping is going to be some type of like Tamagotchi game or something. I think all that's coming soon. It's going to be airdropped to Pizza Ninja holders as well as Megapunks. If you want to be involved in that, Megapunk's floor is relatively low. It's probably like 0.005 or something like that. So could be a way to play into that game. I don't know what ultimately the prize is going to be, but he's doing some creative and new like development stuff on Bitcoin. So always good to see, that kind of stuff come out of it.
100%, dude. I mean, it's awesome that Trevor's a member of MVHQ and has been around for a while. I said a few weeks to months ago, I sold my Pizza Ninja just because I thought the MVHQ alpha was better. Again, not a paid shill, but you heard it here first. We got all the alpha in-house. But yeah, it's definitely exciting to see some of those developments. I will say with like collections like that, I'm always just at pause when it's like, this collection is only 0.005 and they're going to do an airdrop. It's like, well, I would say 99% of the time, you're not going to get an airdrop that exceeds the value of the parent collection. It can happen, right? Like you never know. There's instances where stuff comes out and then catches fire after the fact. But usually when it's one of those things where it's just married up to a project with a very low floor, it doesn't exactly give me the bullish indicators. If it was like, hey, Node Monkey's getting an airdrop, hell yeah, like I'm with it. But something with 0.005 floors getting the airdrop, that's public knowledge and the floors still staying put, that's probably not the best sign.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was more the Ninja part and TO part, but yeah, I totally agree. But he included Megapunks in for some reason. Megapunks is one of those collections that I don't understand why the floor is so low. I mean, like the artist is like well known. It's a sub 1 million inscription collection. Might be like it could be like vying there for one of the first like 10K collections on Bitcoin. It could be like definitely one of the first 3 or 4 at a minimum. So like the price of this one definitely confuses me. Maybe it's because like they did the collection on Ethereum and then it got burned over and migrated. Maybe that's why. But I don't know. Some of these collections like don't make any sense. You know how for the longest time puppets were trading higher than opium when opium was like the original, right? And with a collection size of just 777. So sometimes like the market just doesn't make any sense and they just have to kind of take it for what it is.
I love it, Waf. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that's the name of the game in crypto is you just got to take what it is and, can't. That's people who mid-curve, right? You got a right curve or left curve, but you don't want to mid-curve. So 100%. Yeah, these Megapunks are kind of cool. I'm just looking through them right now. It's what you'd expect for a punk collection, but there's definitely some interesting traits here. I don't really know a ton about them. This is a bit of a tangent, Waf, but what are your thoughts on like just punks as a derivative across the space? I personally find it weird that there's always this rush to be like the first punk on a new chain. I mean, Solana Punks was so funny because those did super well for minters and, props to them. That was an absolute cook. But just this thesis of like, it's going to be the first punk project on Blast or on Ordinals. It's like, why do people care about a derivative of punks on a different chain? It's just funny to me.
You know what? I don't have the right answer for that, but it always seems to be like a slight variation of the original, right? It's not the exact 10K collection. It's always, I think, something similar. But you're right. I've seen it time and time again, whether it's literally on Binance chain or Solana or, Base or you name it, Bitcoin. I mean, just something about CryptoPunks will always be like sort of like a top collection in the crypto world, which actually, ironically enough, look how bad the crypto punk price has gone down, right? I think it's like sub 30 ETH. Like you talk about a great long-term play. I mean, who would have thought 2 years ago or 3 years ago that in 2024, where Bitcoin price is at like almost 70,000, that you could buy a crypto punk for like 30 ETH. Like that would have been like, I would have been like, no way, you're crazy.
Totally agree, Waf. I mean, it's preposterous. Imagine how people are going to feel when they know that you could have gotten a puppet at 0.16 right now. You're going to be shaking.
Or you can get a Nat Cat at like 0.018.
Oh, dude, my dad's shaking on that one. There's a funny story on the side there. I called my entire family when I found Nat Cat's pre-launch on Magic Eden. I was like, you need to buy Nat Cats, please. Like, this is going to be the first of their kind. So my dad was the only one in the family who's like, okay, I'll buy a Nat Cat. And it was under the stipulation of like, I bought a Nat Cat on my dad's behalf. We bought it. I called him when it went to like 0.12. I was like, we got to sell. He's like, I want to hold it. I was like, no, we're going to sell. Like you know, took no risk in this. Like, let's lock you in, get a profit. They fell down to like 0.07. I was like, we're buying back. We're getting another cat. We're going to rinse and repeat. And yeah, they just tanked. So my dad is actively rooting for Nat Cats. He'll give me a phone call and just start off being like, so I see Nat Cats are up to 0.018. I'm like, yeah, they are.
Oh man, I don't think you ever live that one down. But at least you got Father's Day next week, man. You could, make it up to him, get him a nice steak or something.
Oh crap! Is that next week? Well, hey, I won't let it down. But once Nat Cats come back, that is like one of the few ordinals that I have not let go of, and I'm just not incentivized to. Right? Like I bought it at a higher price and continuing to dollar cost average. The conviction's there. Puppet was the one that was just so hard for me to let go of, but I think I played the circumstance right. So of all the ordinals, I don't get how Nat Cats are this undervalued. And you'll see people all on Twitter talking about it. I mean, the community is still super tight. I think you just have to deal with that big whale redistributing his collection. But yeah, I mean, just search on X for Nat Cats and see the commentary on there. There's a ton of firm believers.
Oh, trust me, I keep my finger on the pulse of the community. Yeah, I'm actually okay holding that one till like even the next bull market. I'll hold it through the bear and I'll see that thing all the way through because I just feel like DMT is the future. But that's going to take some time. So that's why we should Trojan horse that thing, right? Because let's people adopt it without knowing they're adopting it is my goal now.
I agree. I mean, I think if you just make like a badass DMT collection, that's what I love about Nat Cats is because like you don't even need them to succeed. You just need one collection with the DMT protocol to succeed. And to your point, if we Trojan horse it, if they come out with like the new Ord whatever, and it's just a super cool PFP, it has all these interesting traits, and people are like, whoa, it's made with DMT. Well, guess what? Nat Cats did it first, and then boom, the rest is history. So I love it for just like a first in its class or first in its field play. And we see it, like those take a while to pan out. Look at Curio back in 2021, right? Like those were just chilling long after apes and punks and all that stuff. And they had their time in the sun. So I think you just got to wait for people to heat up to them and figure out what's going on there.
Oh, you brought me back. Curio cards. Yeah, they went on a parabolic run. I think ultimately, anytime you see these new collections on a new chain, they always have like that name of the chain in their collection. It's just sort of like what it is, right? Whether it's, based punks or, I don't know, something on Cardano. If people use Cardano, I saw AI make a Cardano reference earlier, so I just wanted to say Cardano. But people just put like that name out there all the time until they finally drop it, and it's just a collection. You don't need to put like the name of the chain in there. Like not everything that comes out on as an ordinal is now BTC this or BTC that, right? It just is what it is, right?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's just the name in the collection. Also saw here, want to call out Meg put in the Ordinals Runes chat, but no tag from Mum. That's all right, Mem. We found it regardless. She just sent out some Ordinal mints to look forward to. I don't know if you saw this here. This is actually interesting, Wap. Do you see this? That Casey's putting out a project coming up here called Fun? I did not know that.
I did not know that either. You know what? I need to like subscribe to his Hell Money podcast just to like pick up clues on stuff because, by the way, did you see that Age of Aquarius rune token? Like that went ballistic last week too.
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
So apparently, his girlfriend Erin, she talks about like how we are leaving the age of Pisces, and then she kind of describes what that is, into the age of Aquarius. And then someone happened to drop an Age of Aquarius rune. I think that thing went as high as like $150. I don't know what it is at now, but it did really, really well. It's actually probably still up there.
Wow. You said that's Casey's girlfriend?
Yeah, it was Casey's girlfriend. I think her name is Erin.
Good for them. Wow, bro, I'm pissed. This Fun collection is a photo project. People who were around during my numbers therapy interview. The rare few will know that I am perma bearish on NFT photo collection. So that's kind of a bummer. I might be ready to get hurt again, though. Really hard to fade anything that Casey's a part of. I mean, just look at the Manko Wanko runes. Those are still doing great, but don't love to see it that this is going to be a photo collection here. But that's all right. Could still do well. You never know.
Yeah, I just dropped the Age of Aquarius link in the VC chat. So it's down like 26% today, but it's at $85. So I mean, it's at a crazy dollar amount for a rune. I don't know what the actual supply is. It looks like 25,000. Yeah, I just missed this mint entirely. This happened one those overnight, Asian mints that I woke up to that everybody was going crazy about. So yeah, that's the whole backstory. It was from Aaron and from the Hell Money podcast.
That's crazy. I mean, honestly, there's some great alpha there. Just listen to Casey's podcast because I mean the Wanko Manko runes are deep lore from him. So if you were familiar with that, you would have spotted that early. And I mean, that was still just I don't even know the multiplier off mint, probably 1,000. And then there you go. This is at a $2 million market cap. And I know sats were kind of high this weekend, but certainly not high as they were during the Rune mania. So yeah, half a Bitcoin in volume in the past 24 hours. Market cap of 2.2 million. Seems like a cook if you minted. So definitely tune into that.
Yeah, exactly. So Ross, what else is on the horizon for you for this week? What are you looking for? Whether it's a collection or just kind of like what are you looking for when in terms of looking at like the next potential rune? Like what are you looking for?
So I'm looking at a few different categories of runes. So right now I'm breaking it down into like blue chip, pullbacks. That should not have been a comma. Blue chip pullbacks, 1. And then 2, I'm looking for growth memes. So let's start with blue chip pullbacks. Arsic, I'm super bullish on it again, man. I just can't stop thinking about how they led the path with the pre-rune meta. For those of you who aren't familiar, right, Arsic came out. They were airdropped to the big collections, Node Monkeys, Puppets, and they were just a hit. And they were like the first ones to say on OrdScan, hey, you have runes, and you could go onto OrdScan, put in your wallet, and you'd see Arsic rune, and you'd get an allocation. And they've been flawless throughout. They airdropped the rune to everyone, or the pre-rune to everyone. Then they airdropped the rune to everyone without a hitch. And they're now, I think, with the pullback below $200 million market cap again. So that, for me, is the blue chip pullback. Same with names like Satoshi. I think that's just a no-brainer. Again, we're talking about a 1 to 2 year time frame for runes. But once that get mainstream adoption, that one to me is definitely going to be a $500 million to $1 billion rune. I could be wrong again, but it was just a super early inscription etch, as well as just that namesake. So any of those early runes, as they continue to pull back after that little local top, I'm looking at that local top as an indicator of who's strong. As they pull back, I want to buy in and then wait for the next pump. So that's the first part of the thesis.
Dude, I love the terminology. Blue chip pullbacks and strong memes. Is that what you said exactly? Like, I just love the categories. And yeah, no problem. And then also like Satoshi. You know what? Satoshi has really good holder count on it. So like that's one that I could easily see just kind of catching fire. Arsic obviously has like great holder count from the initial airdrop and then the meme land like collaboration. So they have a ton of holders, but Satoshi secretly has like almost 23,000 holders.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, honestly. So that's part 1. Let me add a bonus category into part 1 here, and this is inspired by you, Waf. Runestones, dude. I think it's got to be. You were so bullish on Dog. And I admit, I was a bit of a fader just because I was bearish on Leonidas shilling. I did not like Leonidas coming out and being like, every 15 minutes, this guy's tweeting, like, we're not bullish enough on Dog. Fair enough. It worked really well for him. He proved his worth. I'm not going to fade him twice. So if we do see another pullback on Ordinals and Runes and Runestones go below 0.01 or whatever it is, that's a no-brainer buy in my mind because, to your point, they still have 2 more airdrops to go. So how high does that, market cap really have to be if Dog Go to the Moon is going to be at $1 billion, whatever the next airdrop is, let's say it's 50 million still, that's still great. If you can get in an allocation at like 0.01 or less just from having a runestone, I think that's really well played. So that is going to be in my also blue chip pullback category.
You know, funny thing about Leonidas, he gets so much hate. Like I've been seeing like the BRC20 community, like just hating on him, the DMT community hating on him. It's like I think it's all jealousy, honestly, because you know what? He's been like the most successful pumping dog. And like, whether you like that or not, he's been a success. And as a result of that, like they're trying to FUD him. And I just think like it comes off as like sour grapes. Like some of these posts I see that are coming at him are just like, honestly, like they're just pathetic. And that just makes me want him to succeed as a result of that, because I feel like they're just like jealous of his success.
I love it, Waf. Yeah, got to root for the underdog, right? Yeah, I think you have to. Yeah, I think I really didn't know who Leonidas was. I think he's tied to Crypto Skulls, though, right? That was kind of my take on it, is that people are soured because of Crypto Skulls. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I mean, this is me just like responding to FUD. So I personally don't really have anything against him, but I was just responding to seeing all this and people being like, you're a shiller. I'm like, all right, people don't like him, so I'm going to chill out. But it's a good point you have there. It really probably is just sour grapes.
So Leonidas and Adam McBride, like they were always like call themselves like these NFT archaeologists. And for the longest time, they were like kind of digging up like, you know, basically NFT stuff on Ethereum or other chains from way back when, that there were projects that sort of like preceded CryptoPunks or whatever the case, that are just really early in the timeline. And they basically uncovered them. And a lot of times they've contacted the dev to like continue the work and then kind of got in on stuff. So Crypto Skulls was just like one of those examples, but he's been doing that way before even Crypto Skulls. But he definitely made a ton of money on Crypto Skulls. I remember Gary V like on a live space, on a Spaces live, like bought a Crypto Skull, I think for like 100 ETH. And Leonidas was probably sitting on like a few hundred Crypto Skulls in his wallet when they were about 3-4 ETH. So he made a ton of money on that. So, you know, and then I think he finally, you know, he dumped on people, so people can hate him for that. But he's been doing that, like discovering like old project thing for a long time.
He honestly sounds like a beast. That's kind of sick. A crypto archaeologist, like that's badass. No shade there, honestly. Like that's just conviction. Good for him.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the NFTs from Ethereum's like beginning were like books or maps and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like this PFP style that we're grown accustomed to, but they were almost like bitmaps in a way, but except like, you know, imagine one map on the screen and you got a plot on the screen. And there was a lot of things like that. There was like books where there was like pages and you could buy the NFT one, like a particular section of the page was an NFT. And I discovered a lot of that stuff from like Adam McBride and Leonidas. So, I can't hate that. I mean, like, you know, it's like, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, right?
Dude, that's awesome, Matt. Honestly, you just inspired me to take a look on Magic Eden. So this is kind of interesting here, and it brings up a good point, Wes. You're talking about early projects on ETH, right? And it was cards and maps. I know that there used to be a bunch of art collections that are like, this is the first 2D project on blah, blah, blah. We'd see it all the time. You can go on Magic Eden. I don't know if you knew this for people listening at home. If you just type in sub, if you're under the collections tab for Bitcoin, and you can search for sub 10K, 5K, 100K inscription. So my question to you, Af, is, are we at the time in the cycle where there's a potential play on sub 5K and 10K inscriptions? Because I'm looking at it here. I don't want to say it's an arbitrage. That's probably not the right word, but a pricing opportunity. You go to the sub 10K collection on Magic Eden. Let me just pull up the exact numbers here because I'm in the 5K right now. But the sub 10K floor is 0.0369 for a sub 10K inscription. And then a sub 5K is only 0.049. So it seems like maybe these sub 5Ks are a little undervalued. Could be completely wrong, but just a thought.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know about those, because like a lot of those sub 5Ks, they're not really part of a collection, or they could be something just purely random. But you know what? What are we up to? Like 70 something million inscriptions? And you were talking about a sub 5K. Like, how can that not be worth more than what it's going for right now, right?
That's what I'm saying. I'm staring at this sub 5. I mean, this is inscription 2,840 for 0.05 Bitcoin. It is an inscription for a project called TradeFi Lines, which is a project of 500 random charts here. So that's pretty funny. But yeah, it's interesting because, remember when like DNS domains were or ENS domains were super popular and like the numbers 1 through 1,000 went for like 10 plus ETH? I think 1 through 100 were like 50 ETH at one point. And then it was like the first 10,000 were still half an ETH or something crazy. Like, if we're talking about, it's going to be pretty soon, hundreds of millions of inscriptions. The first 5K inscriptions, like that's not a bad bet. Not financial advice.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Even like you talk about the first 10,000, like that's the first that could be that's a collection really in and of itself, right? First 10,000 inscriptions on Bitcoin, and we're at 77 million or 80 million or whatever the number is, and we're just like in year 2, right? We just at the beginning of year 2 for Ordinal. So 10 years from now, we could be in the hundreds of millions of inscriptions.
Yeah, I forget how much did the second inscription sold for like $2 million a month or two ago, I want to say. I don't remember the exact amount. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember. It was like 24 Bitcoin or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a crazy buy. But that's cool. I mean, inscription too. So it's just interesting when you see these whales that are so early, right? Because like you think about people who bought crypto punks or Bored Apes like way back before the trend really caught on. I mean, there were people spending $100,000+ on alien punks 3 years early or 2 years early, and what a play that was. So I'm still thinking back to just like 4 months ago when people were spending, I forget what the floor on alien node monkeys was. I want to say they were spending like at least $1 million on some of them. Was that total or was that like per alien?
I think it was per alien actually. Like it was like 7 or 8 Bitcoin each, something like that. So that inscription number 2 sold for 24 Bitcoin, and it's now listed for 222 Bitcoin.
Yeah, that is crazy. So yeah, I mean, I remember looking back after that sale, the sub 10K floor went up to like 0.09, I want to say. So to see sub 5K is down to 0.05, like, I don't know. I might buy into my own NFA here at some point. At least I'll keep an eye out on it. I mean, the floor is thin. Really take this with a grain of salt if anyone's checking in on the sub 5K floor at home, just because it's going to be a pretty illiquid collection. And again, it's like its own custom filter within Magic Eden. It's not its own collection, but in the spirit of crypto archaeology, I would imagine at some point there is a case to be made for early inscriptions being worth a lot.
So if I'm not mistaken, I think, didn't Leonidas buy inscription number 69, I want to say, last year, and he had like a whole thesis on why he bought it too, and he definitely paid a pretty penny for it. And I think it just goes back to like being the archaeologist in the crypto space. So those are kind of the moves you make. They're like buying a Picasso. You're not going to flip that. That's something you're holding probably for a generation before you even think about selling.
Absolutely. I'm trying to see how much you get sub 1K collection here too on Magic Eden. I was trying to see if we could find 420, see how much that would go for. All right, sub 100 or sub 1000 goes for 0.32 is the floor there. Still not terrible. Very thin floors on all these collections.
But you can also just filter by inscription number, so you can see like literally from 1 to 1,000 in order.
Ah, look at that. Yeah, very cool. Dude, wow, if you're just clutch as hell with co-hosting today, dude. You just nonstop with the alpha. I love it.
It's all you, bro. It's all you. You're the one that makes it happen, man.
Dude, appreciate it. Good team. Oh yeah. All right. Well, this has been a really fun one. I feel like. Let's see. Oh, all right. Sorry. So let me finish up the sorting of the two different groups. We talked about the blue chip pullback. I did want to touch on these growth memes real quick because a surprise rune that I was like, am I really buying this? Psycho Hamster. I got it in around a 3 million market cap because this guy Chartfu, who does a lot of charting on Twitter and is a bit of a Ordinals influencer, he was hyping up the project, and it kind of had like Remilio Milady vibes to me. It was just a weird project spelled Saiko, and it's just like a hamster with a knife. So a very bizarre concept, but it did kind of make me laugh. And that's always, I mean, as stupid as it sounds, that's always been one of my criteria for meme coins, especially on Solana. It was like, if I actually find this meme after we've been in 4 years of just people putting together the most obscure memes out there, if there's something that's new and funny, I'm all about it. So this psycho hamster meme, I definitely thought that there would be a portion of crypto Twitter that likes the kind of like cringy, edgy posts. And, you know, I think the blue chips are easy to spot for strength. The smaller memes that have growth potential, I think, are where you're going to hit your 5 to 10 baggers. Because do I think RSIC is going to 5x from where it's at? Yes. Do I think Psycho Hamster will hit a 5x faster? Yes. So for the shorter term flips, as long as we can still get some volume coming in on runes here, and we're still getting pretty decent volume even after we cooled off a little bit, that's what I'm kind of pinpointing. Some of those edgy kind of fun memes that are sub 5 million market cap, I think those are very good contenders for flip plays to make 2 to 3x.
I'm going to throw one more out there that fits this category. It's Sparky Rune Dog. It had a really nice run today. I'd wait for a pullback. It's still sub 3 million. Has like pretty much, it checks all the boxes that Psycho Hamster does, I think, in my opinion. So that's another one I'm kind of looking at.
I love the call out, Waf. I was not aware, but that's awesome. Let me take a quick look at this here. But yeah, anything else top of mind, Waf? I know that we're over our hour mark. It's just exciting being back in an Ordinals and Runes market where we're getting some volume. I know it's not quite at the peak that it was before the weekend and before that liquidation, but it's still pretty good. So really don't have much to complain about.
Yeah, not much really. Just gonna be on the lookout for mints. You know, I like to use Luminex, the Alpha tab to check on mints, but lately I've been minting off Rune Blaster and just kind of checking socials and what people are thinking and just trying to catch a hot mint. And that's kind of like what I'm really all about right now. It's just trying to catch something hot, low risk, potential high reward, and everything else. I'm just kind of like sitting back. Maybe sell off some royals, but outside of that, not really doing too much. Kind of holding pat.
Awesome. I really appreciate the guidance as always. I'm checking out Sparky Rune Dog right now on Twitter, and this is pretty interesting. They have one tweet so far. It looks like, I guess it just came out. This is from 7 hours ago. But yeah, it looks like the chart is doing really well. It's up 90%, a $2.5 million market cap. So absolutely, we'll see how it does, but it's got that feel to it. But as always, Waf, just an absolute pleasure hosting this with you, man. Really appreciate all your market insights. Sounds like another week where we're in lockstep with our viewpoints here. Looks like we both have been looking for some Rune opportunities, and hopefully I'll be a little bit more locked in this week. Big shout out to everyone in the BRC Ordinals chat and MVHQ. I mean, people like Mr. Bull and Chelsea, Dive Bars Rule, Admiral. You know, there's so many names. Like, I'm sorry if I didn't get everybody, but there's just people who do an amazing job of sending out pings and catching mints early. So hats off to you guys. I know a ton of people in here have been fucking crushing it with runes over the past couple of weeks. So absolutely love to see it.
Yeah, I can't forget Fasta as well. He's always minting stuff and dropping links. 100% Mr. Bull, Dive Bars Rule. All you guys are like the best, man. I did have one more thing I was going to say, but I totally fucking forgot, but it's all good. Oh, by the Bitcoin price. Remember last week we ended off with a prediction and I was like, oh, we got like a 25% chance of hitting the all-time high.
Yes.
Well, you know what? I feel like one of those moments where, you know, when you sell something and then it pumps and you're like, I'm going to sacrifice my, myself so that it could pump for everybody else. I'm just going to say, I don't think we're hitting the all-time high this week. No chance of hitting all-time high this week.
I like it. And for those who aren't picking up what Waf's putting down, he's sacrificing it. So maybe we will see it. But I'm with you, Waf. I also agree. I am in a rare spot right now where I'm actively rooting for GameStop, which I have not done in years. So that'll be the big price target in my mind is GameStop getting back above $30. So I'll be more glued to that than the Bitcoin price action over the next week. But hopefully they both do it. I definitely think Bitcoin's going to have its time. Hopefully GameStop has its time as well. Just a little bonus tangent here at the end. But yeah, I think we're going to be rooting for it. I really think the degen stuff will have its time in the sun. Not quite sure what caused this liquidation over the weekend, but usually after some people get shaken out, if you can show strength, which it looks like we're still holding pretty well. That's sometimes all that's required to inch the leg higher. So really great episode as always, Waf. An absolute pleasure. And shout out to Silva again. Thank you for posting all of those token airdrops in chat. Shout out to Meg as well for the projects, but we'll see how those added liquidity does for us coming next week. I think it's going to be setting the stage quite nicely for an electric episode of BossDawgs next week.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just looking for that major short squeeze on Bitcoin, like that's gonna pop the price like 10%, and then it's gonna like send everything. And that moment's coming. I don't know when. Like I said, we're really coiled up. That short squeeze is definitely like, I think it's already past its expiration date. It's coming soon.
That's a good point, Bob. Honestly, like when short squeezes happen, it usually follows a period of dipping and consolidation, and that's usually when people are going short on it, right? So maybe to get us out of this period of chop, we might have to go a little bit lower when I'm thinking of it in that framework. Because I'm imagining when you see the leg down, so if Bitcoin went to like, let's say 65K, and then people said, oh, this is bearish, and they all started to go short, that's when those shorts could really get squeezed by a rip up. And then once they get liquidated on their shorts, it goes even higher. So I'm curious who's going short at Bitcoin when it's at 69K, because it's been there so much. It seems like a bad level to go short at. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe there are a ton of people with shorts out here. But with all that being said, I'm sure if we do get another consolidation, if it's a leg lower before we go higher, I do think once we get that next leg down, if there ever is one, that would be a really great contender for a nice short squeeze. And you don't even need a short squeeze. Sometimes it could just be an inflow of buying pressure. So I know Jake mentioned earlier today some notable ETF inflows. So that could potentially be all we need to just get us there. No shorts needed.
All right. So like my theory is that and to your point about the inflows, and I was going to make that point too, is the inflows doesn't really matter when it comes to this price in the short term. But what I think is happening is that because of the inflows, I think people are on the perp exchanges going short and then like buying spot, right? And then I think there's loading up, right? And like loading up at a lower price. It doesn't take that much leverage and money to go short on Bitcoin while you're buying the physical, right? This happens a lot in the gold market, and I think it's just happening in the Bitcoin market where they're just basically manipulating the spot price in the future exchange to buy the physical price at a lower price.
Oh, interesting. That's a really good theory there, Wap. I mean, I could totally see people doing that, especially now that there's a bigger suite of Bitcoin synthetics that exists just through proxy of ETF or other, derivatives or instruments to represent Bitcoin. So that's a really good point. I definitely think a lot of people are probably stacking up the Bitcoin here, which could be, why we saw a bit of a pullback in ordinals. I guess at one point people were just like, yeah, I'm going to hold the real thing right now and just sit tight, stack up the chips. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think we've been in this chop range, like you said, for longer than ever on Bitcoin. It'll be really interesting to see. It's weird seeing such a volatile asset over the past 10 years just be so stable.
Yeah, so we just wait for a big boss man like Larry Fink to say send it, and then I think we're just gonna get sent, right? I think they're just waiting to fill their bags like to the moment where they feel like they're comfortable to let it run, and then once they decide they're gonna let it run, it's gonna run.
It's so true. Once you get the big boys involved, that's all it is. They're just like, okay, go. And it goes. They have unlimited money, so they can certainly send it. If anyone can, it's Larry Fink.
Yep. Okay. On that note, I know we went like pretty long. So I think if there's no other points, no more analysis, and no more, alpha, let's call it a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, man. Pleasure as always. I'll catch you next week.
Will do. See you then.
All right, Bob. See ya. Thank you, everybody.
Later.